Before the sun rises, thousands stand motionless outside a gate not yet permitted to open. Behind it lies Chang'an in the year 750, one of the most powerful cities on Earth, where wide avenues shrink human bodies into small moving shapes. Camels arrive loaded with unfamiliar goods, and the tiled roofs of a distant palace break the horizon. The drum about to sound does not only open this city. Each evening, the same rhythm locks its neighborhoods, and streets wide enough for armies fall almost silent. This journey moves from a southern gate to a crowded market, from palace halls to ordinary kitchens, from temple bells to darkness beyond curfew, before a final chapter reveals how fragile this splendor was. Welcome to History Reborn AI. The year sits deep inside the Tianbao era. While Emperor Xuanzong still rules from behind walls few will cross. Chang'an rests on the Guanzhong Plain, roads reaching west towards Central Asia, others stretching east and south into the farms, feeding an empire. The city follows a strict north-south axis, its walled wards forming a grid of small kingdoms, its two great markets drawing goods from half the known world. Estimates vary, but Chang'an may have held close to 1 million residents, perhaps one of the largest cities on Earth at that time. Officials, students, merchants, craft workers, soldiers, monks, and communities rooted in Central Asia share these streets, though not the same freedom to move through them. Wards keep their own gates. Markets keep their own hours. Avenues fall under close watch after dark, and a person standing decides where they may live and how far they may go. Beyond this order, real military strength already gathers at the empire's edges, far from the throne that claims to command it. To understand Chang'an, begin at the moment the city decides to let you in. Before you see the palace, Chang'an has already made you feel how small you are. Fields and dirt roads fade into mist as a wall rises ahead, not natural but built, stretching further than a single glance can hold. People, ox carts, horses, and a handful of two-humped camels wait in the cool air, watching for a sound that has not yet come. Then a drum rolls out from somewhere deep inside the city. Wooden bolts are drawn back, and the southern gate opens onto a great ceremonial avenue, one so wide that even a dense crowd cannot fill it completely. Dust rises around wheel ruts and drainage channels, keeping the scene closer to lived reality than to any polished image. Moving past this main road, the eye meets another kind of boundary. Walls dividing the city into separate wards, each with its own gate, each a small enclosed world. Entering the capital, it turns out, is only the first door among many. Officials ride ahead at speed, claiming space as their due. Porters carry loads on foot and wait longer at every crossing. Ox carts haul heavy goods at their own slow pace, while servants step aside the instant a high-ranking procession approaches. No announcement required, because the body already knows the rule. Even a city built on this scale depends on smaller, constant labor. Wells are drawn from, wooden troughs filled, canals cleared, workers moving quietly to keep water flowing through neighborhoods that never stop needing it. Far ahead, layered rooftops and banners mark the palace complex, visible but entirely out of reach for most people walking this avenue. The order on display here is not only architectural, it is also a form of sorting, deciding who moves quickly and who waits, who commands space and who yields it. Vastness and personal smallness sit side by side in every direction. If gates like this one control who enters the city, a deeper question follows. What happens at the place where goods from many distant lands actually meet? Chang'an has allowed you through its outer wall, though it has not yet revealed who truly belongs within it. At the Western Market, a distant land can be heard before anyone learns exactly where it lies. Camels are unloaded at first light. Stalls open in uneven waves, and scattered sounds slowly gather into one continuous roar. Glassware, metalwork, cloth, spices, medicinal herbs, and dried fruit arrive here only after passing through many hands, many carts, and many borders, a reminder that no single caravan ever traveled in one unbroken line from the Mediterranean to this square. Among the traders, checking scales and inspecting seals, some carry Sogdian heritage, part of a wider Central Asian network connecting Chang'an to trading worlds far beyond its walls, though they remain one community among many rather than the whole of the market. Goods are not the only things moving through these lanes. Riding styles, boots, musical instruments, decorative patterns, and the game of polo travel alongside merchants, envoys, and performers, carried as much by people as by cargo. Yet the most valuable commodity changing hands here is not silk, silver, or glass. It is information. In workshops near the market's edge, metal workers, weavers, and dyers take imported raw materials and turn them into objects shaped by distinctly Tang taste. Proof that this era's artistic reach lived in technique and form, not only in the presence of foreign faces. None of this happens outside the state's attention. Scales are checked, transactions recorded, disputes settled, and trading hours firmly enforced, since even a market, this alive with private ambition, still answers to official order. As the day ends, stalls close, animals are led back to their pens, and one especially fine box of goods is placed onto a cart, bound for the palace. Behind this wealth lie long journeys, illness, harsh weather, the risk of lost cargo, and heavy, often uncredited physical labor. Connection on this scale and personal uncertainty travel the same roads together. The most valuable items will not stay in this market. They are already heading toward a place most residents of this city will never enter, where the true worth of every object is decided behind walls, the color of dried blood. In Chang'an, power rarely announces itself. It simply makes people wait. Before dawn, officials gather by rank outside the palace's ceremonial gate, foreign envoys held in their own separate space, while the surrounding architecture works quietly to make every visitor feel smaller. Beyond this threshold lie the Great Hall and its layered courtyards, a sequence of spaces where access narrows, the deeper one moves toward the throne. Music, banners, a precise standing order, the exact moment to step forward, the exact moment to bow, all of it turns abstract authority into something the eye can witness directly. Behind this display, clerks grind ink and copy, stamp and dispatch official documents, an administrative machine running in near silence beneath the ceremony above it. A single sheet of paper inside the palace weighs almost nothing. At a distant frontier, that same sheet can carry the weight of 1,000 lives. Outside this bureaucracy, students and lower officials wait for their own opening, since the Imperial examinations offer a genuine path upward, though family wealth, education, and connections still shape who reaches the palace gates at all. Farther, from the throne room, armored guards, archers, and cavalry hint at something larger. Real military strength is increasingly concentrated on distant frontiers rather than around the capital itself. Meanwhile, palace grounds still need constant care. Servants sweep courtyards, carry water, tend horses, and repair roof tiles, and one shipment of food eventually leaves the palace complex altogether, its route continuing beyond the Vermilion walls. The emperor does not personally resolve every matter of empire from a single throne. Commands travel through layer after layer of officials, clerks, and officers before they reach anyone at all. Ceremony offers brilliance here, while the underlying machinery stays cold and exact, and the distance between those who decide and those who live with the consequences can stretch impossibly far. What happens next, once fresh orders leave this palace, to the ordinary houses waiting behind their own walled walls? The palace decides the fate of an empire. The houses beyond its vermilion walls are the ones left to live with that decision. Leaving the main avenue behind, Chang'an does not grow smaller. It simply becomes closer, tighter, and far more real. Walled gates open onto ordinary mornings, as adults head out to work and goods move from private courtyards into narrow lanes. Two houses standing near each other can belong to entirely different worlds. One wealthy household enjoys a courtyard, curtains, and a small private garden, while a craft worker's home doubles as a workshop, its interior shaped entirely by labor rather than leisure. And neither space needs a single word of explanation to reveal its owner's standing. Meals differ just as sharply. Wheat cakes, noodles, porridge, vegetables, and beans form the daily foundation, with meat appearing only when circumstances allow, since not everyone in this city eats anything close to a palace banquet. Clothing tells a similar story. Coarse cloth and fine silk exist side by side, produced by dyers, weavers, papermakers, and stable hands whose steady physical effort lies behind every elegant garment associated with this golden age. Only a single wall can separate two families living in what might as well be two completely different versions of this city. Water arrives through careful, repeated labor, people carrying it home, channels and storage jars managing the flow, while ash and household waste are handled unevenly across different districts, since this city is neither fully clean nor entirely filthy by any simple measure. When illness strikes, apothecary shops offer herbal remedies, weighed on small scales by trained healers. Proof that medical knowledge does exist here, even though real access to it still depends heavily on money and social rank. As evening approaches, work is drawn back indoors. Residents begin watching the light more carefully, and a temple bell rings out over the rooftops, carrying the story forward into what follows. When medicine and money both run out, where does someone in this city turn for protection? Outside the palace, this golden age does not burn across glazed rooftops. It burns quietly instead. Inside, countless small kitchen fires that must be relit again every single morning. In a city measured out by walls and regulations, the things people fear most are often the very things no one can actually see. Temple bells ring out while the city is still only half awake. Monks prepare for morning ritual, and a great brick pagoda emerges slowly out of the mist. Monks and scribes copy scripture by hand, since Buddhism reached Chang'an, not only through statues, but through long journeys, careful translation, and written language. And by this period, it had become one of the most influential faiths inside the capital. Taoist priests, meanwhile, study sacred texts and perform restrained rituals of their own, since the Tang court granted Taoism a special status, built on the ruling family's claimed descent from the philosopher Laozi. Farther across the city, faiths arriving from the west appear in brief, careful glimpses rather than extended detail. A fire altar tended by the Sogdian community, a modest space connected to the Church of the East, and a scroll linked to Iranian religious tradition. The Church of the East had reached China as early as the year 635, though the famous stone monument recording its history in Chang'an would not be raised until the year 781, well beyond this particular moment. Evidence also points toward a Zoroastrian presence within the city, while Manichaeism is worth mentioning only briefly as a faith that had spread eastward, its exact scale here still uncertain. Belief, however, does not sit outside the emperor's reach. Residents consult calendars, choose favorable days, and pray quietly for health or safe travel, small practical acts rather than dramatic ritual. Much of what survives from this era, in fact, comes from burial sites, painted figures of people, horses, and camels, revealing as much about daily life as about hopes for whatever waits beyond it. As evening falls, certain nighttime religious gatherings draw special official attention or outright restriction, and when the drum finally sounds again, its rhythm cuts straight through the fading temple bells. By day, Chang'an lets its people search freely for meaning and protection. By night, its authorities decide who is still permitted to keep walking. As the sun touches the rooftops of the city wall, Chang'an begins locking nearly 1 million people behind hundreds of separate gates. Vendors gather their goods in a hurried race against the coming drumbeat. Pedestrians quicken their pace, and carts push hard to reach the correct ward before the light disappears completely. Wooden bolts drop into place. Market gates and ward gates lock in sequence one after another, and the great avenues begin emptying out fast, their open spaces suddenly looking far too large for the few figures still crossing them. Patrols move through on foot and on horseback, torches casting only small, scattered pools of light rather than any citywide glow, and anyone still walking the main roads after curfew can expect to be stopped and questioned. A messenger carrying official business passes freely through this darkness, while an ordinary resident caught in the same place is simply sent back the way they came, since surviving records give no reason to invent an elaborate system of paper permits beyond what actually existed. In the dark, a person's status gets measured by one very simple right: the right to keep walking. Life inside the wards, though, does not simply stop the moment the bolts fall. Dinner is eaten, conversations continue, tools get repaired, horses are tended, and doors are quietly closed for the night. Proof that curfew controls the main roads and the outer gates, far more than it controls what happens behind them. Two very different kinds of night exist side by side within these same walls. Modest homes flicker with small oil lamps, while wealthy households host private banquets full of music behind closed doors. And household servants continue working, long after their guests have settled in to rest. Wind moves along the empty avenue. Torchlight drifts past. Dogs bark somewhere in the distance. And patrol footsteps echo before the first hint of morning light finally appears, opening the way toward the next gate to open. When that gate opens again, Chang'an will wear its most radiant image yet, though by then its people already understand exactly what lies behind that beauty. By day, Chang'an belongs to the empire. By night, it belongs to its locks. On the seventh day, Chang'an does not merely wake. It begins performing itself. Long before sunrise, servants hang banners and colored cloth. Sweepers clear the avenues. Festival kitchens light their fires, and horses are groomed to a careful shine, all of it finished before the wider city ever glimpses the celebration ahead. The same gate from the very first day opens once more, now dressed in decoration, as crowds move steadily inward, while music and drum beats slowly build behind them. A ceremonial procession follows in strict order. Officials arranged by rank, banners and music leading the way. Envoys and honored guests positioned with careful precision. Nothing here left to chance or disorder. Along the avenue, fashion becomes its own performance, from formal robes and tall skirts to riding coats, boots, fine silk, and decorated belts. With Central Asian influence appearing clearly among the fashionable elite, rather than across the population as a whole, since Tang, art and style absorbed international influence heavily through trade, diplomacy, and travel. No one walking this avenue realizes they are celebrating only 5 years before the greatest crisis of their era arrives. Elsewhere, a polo match unfolds among the elite, played on Western horses. while an orchestra shaped by Central Asian influence performs alongside dancers, and the rhythm of hooves shifts naturally into the rhythm of festival drums. Inside the palace, a banquet unfolds with silverware, ceramics, food, wine, and music. Servants exchanging trays continuously while guests are entertained without ever needing an exhaustive list of every dish served. Beyond the palace walls, residents mark the occasion on a smaller scale, as vendors, craft workers, and musicians work harder rather than rest, and one laborer simply watches a noble procession pass by, a clear sign that this city is not celebrating in exactly the same way from every angle. As ceremonial music nears its peak, a rider with official duties passes through the gate, not carrying news of any uprising. Simply a quiet symbol of mounting pressure buildings somewhere along the frontier. And the music begins to soften. 5 years later, the rebellion led by Lushan begins, and the imperial court is eventually forced from its capital amid the unrest that follows. There is no need for graphic violence here. Shops close their doors, carts leave the city, urgent documents move quickly. Banners shift in the wind, and the great avenue stands empty once again. The Tang Dynasty does not end in this moment. Though its balance of power and wealth suffers damage, it will never fully undo. The splendor witnessed across these 7 days was never a lie. It simply depended on a system far more fragile than its surface ever suggested. 7 days ago, the gates of Chang'an opened before us for the very first time. That city has long since vanished, yet its foundations, its surviving objects, and the very routes that once connected it to a wider world remain. Perhaps another vanished world is waiting somewhere else, ready for its own gates to open again.